with the tampering period and free agency looming only about 1 week away, we're going to be talking about the biggest, um, most known defensive end in this upcoming free agency class, and that is future Hall of Famer Khalil Mack. You see him on the thumbnail. Now, Khalil Mack, in my opinion, people are saying we need to absolutely go after him. He is one of the most signs if we don't get a guy like Josh Sweat. I disagree. If we don't get Josh Sweat, we absolutely need to pursue Khalil Mack. But people are acting like Khalil Mack is still what he was on the Bears. Don't get me wrong, but I'm going to put this out there. Khalil Mack is still a very good defensive end in this league, but he is not a number one defensive end anymore. He is not what he was in the Chicago Bears, where he plays like a Myles Garrett. He plays like a Myles Garrett, just 2 times not as good as Myles Garrett at this point in his career. Again, Khalil Mack's still a very talented defensive end, but he is about on the same level as Zadarius Smith for me. And Zadarius Smith, he's, in my opinion, also not number one defensive end anymore. Still a very good number two, just not a number one defensive end anymore. So he's around the same boat for Khalil Mack, in my opinion, as Zadarius Smith. Now, Khalil Mack, great size, 6'3", 269. He's 34 years old, just turned 34. This will be his last season in the NFL, I guarantee it. He contemplated retirement right after the Super Bowl. Made a pretty quick announcement that he was going to play one more season, but I fully expect this to be his last season in the NFL, which does mean his expected salary is not going to be very high for this upcoming season. I expect him to go to a Super Bowl contending team, I could see him staying with the Chargers, but I could also see him go somewhere else like the Lions. For a very cheap 1 year, $5 million deal, $4 million deal, somewhere around there. His production and talent wise would be more than that, but just because this is the last year of his career, most likely, I expect him to take a huge pay cut to go somewhere like us or a Super Bowl contender. He was drafted 5th overall back in 2014 by the Oakland Raiders. Played on the Chargers this past season. First season, had 4 sacks, forced fumble. Second season, one of the best seasons of his career, second best season of his career, 15 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. 2016, 11 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries. His last year with Oakland, 10.5 sacks, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. 2018, got traded to the Bears, had 12.5 sacks, 6 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries. 2019 was with the Bears, played every single game, had 8.5 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery. On the Bears again, played every single game, 9 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries. His last year with the Bears only played 7 games, did have 6 sacks and a fumble recovery. And then he got traded to the Chargers back in 2022, where he played every single game, had 8 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. And then last year, he had arguably his best career season, had played every single game, had 17 sacks and 5 forced fumbles, along with 10 passes deflected. In 2024, missed 1 game, had 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery, along with 9 passes deflected. So he was still very productive this season, just not quite the productive in terms of his amount of sacks. And again, this is why I think everybody is acting like Khalil Mack is still this elite defensive end who can be a number one on a team. Is because of his 17 sack season back in 2023. Now, if you pay attention to the NFL like that, like I do, Khalil Mack had 6 sacks in 1 game back in 2023. You take that away, he had 11 sacks. Don't get me wrong, that's very productive. Hutch back in 2023 had 11 and a half, and he had a phenomenal season. So don't get me wrong. But you watch the film, Khalil Mack is not what he used to be. He is still a very productive defensive end, but people acting like he is still this elite defensive end, he will change your defensive line like a Josh Sweat would now, or Myles Garrett would now. It's just not the case in my opinion. Now, again, that does not mean I don't want the Lions to target him, because absolutely I want the Lions to target him if we can't get a guy like Josh Sweat. Absolutely. But he is also, I'm not going to give him more than around $8 million a year. If he's going to command anything more than $8 million a year, I'm not doing it. I don't expect him to do that. That's why I'm fine with signing him. Now, I guess let's go ahead and take a look at his postseason stats, because this season, he's back in 2022, his first year with the Chargers, he played 1 game, had 1 sack. And this season, in the playoff game under John Harbaugh, had 2 sacks. Jim Harbaugh. He had 2 sacks in 1 game. So you add those 2 sacks, he would have had 8 sacks on the year. So Khalil Mack, He played 17 games this year if he counts the postseason game, which means he had 8 sacks on the year. Again, very productive defensive end, and he is one of the best, second best probably defensive end available in this free agency class. Let's go ahead and take a look at his market value. His market value is insane, and he's just not going to get this. See, the spot check, I don't know what they're even doing. They must be using AI or something like that because this is just not accurate. His market value is 3 years, $70.9 million, $23.6 million a year, which will put him at 6th on the outside linebacker ranking and 54th in the NFL ranking. That's just, it doesn't make any sense. I'm not even going to go into argue it because, like, they're clearly not even using the right algorithm here. He's literally going to only play probably one more game in his NFL career, or one more season in his NFL career. He's not going to command that much. Again, he's only going to command at most, in my opinion, $8 million. There's no way he gets that much. But leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think we should sign Khalil Mack, or do you think we should go another route like Josh Sweater just through the draft? In my opinion, as long as we get 2, 3, 4 defensive ends and 5 or 6 guys on the defensive line this offseason, and he's one of them, sign me up. But one Pride Go Lions, 1 week away. It's crazy, man.